Hey, welcome back to Mr. Nelson's class and our video explaining our type 2, our 1 and 2 binary and polyatomic mixed together practice, but this is practice number 2. So as we go ahead and go through this, we're going to go ahead and we have to put the type down, and then we have to go ahead and either name it with the name or write the formula. In the first part here, we're going to write the name. So before we can write the name, we got to know how are we going to write the name. So we're going to go ahead and look at the first one and look at this. I know right now that I have 3 capital letters. So that means it is polyatomic. But is it type 1 or type 2? Well, since the first one is polyatomic, again, this is how we tell that that we know that the first one's polyatomic. I go, okay, first element is nitrogen. Nitrogen is a nonmetal. It's above the staircase. So that means I have to look at the number of elements that I have. Well, I have 3 elements. So that means it's not going to be type 3 on how we name them. So that first part must be polyatomic. And since it's polyatomic, that means it's always going to be a type 1. And we know there's going to be 1 polyatomic. So let's go ahead and bring that back. Now, since we know the first one's polyatomic, we're going to look at NH4. Let's go to our packet, go to our very last page, our polyatomic ion page, and then we're going to find it. And NH4, I know where it's at in here. It's right there. It is ammonium. Okay, and it's a +1. So let's go ahead and go back to it. Since it's type 1, we just name it. So we go ahead and just put in ammonium. Now we look at the last part of it, Cl. Well, that's a single element, so I'm going to go to my periodic table. And that is right here, Cl is chlorine, which if you remember, we changed the ending to chloride. That's how we do that one. Let's go ahead and do one down here. Right away, I can see that it's Fe. Fe, if I go to my periodic tables right here, if I go to that, and it is right in here. Well, remember, if it's in there in the blue, it must be type 2, so it's a type 2. So we know it's type 2. And it's more than 2 elements, so that means it must be polyatomic. So we have to put the Roman numeral for iron. We have to figure that out. So we're going to go ahead and go all the way over to the NO3. Now I have NO3, and I have 3 of them. So we're going to go to our polyatomic ion sheet, and we're going to find NO3, which to me, NO3 is, I believe, in the middle one. So here's our middle one. Let's go down to NO3. There's NO3. It's nitrate. So if we go back to here, or back to it, nitrate is a -1. So we know that that is a -1. But I have 3 of them, so my total charge for nitrate is going to be my -1 times 3, or -3. For my iron, it has to be equal but opposite because those charges have to cancel each other out, so it's going to be a +3. I'm going to, excuse me, I'm going to divide that by the number of irons I have. And if I look at the formula, there's no subscription. I mean, there's 1 iron, so 3 divided by 1 is a +3. And then I'm going to highlight that because that is my Roman numeral. So we're going to put in Fe stands for iron, but let's double check that. Yep, iron. So iron, and then we're going to Roman numeral 3. And then we're going to put NO3. Okay, so we're going to look for this one. We go back to that. NO3 was nitrate. We're just going to write down nitrate. And again, there you go. There's the name for that type. Let's look at the next one. Right away, I see titanium, so I know that if I go here, it's right there, which if I go to this page, titanium is right here. So it must be a type 2. So we know it's type 2. I only have 2 capital letters, so that means it must be binary. So we got to figure out the charge for titanium. Well, I don't know what the charge of titanium is, but I do know what the charge of Br is. So if I go to my page 12 and look right here, Br is right there. It is a -1. So I'm going to put a -1 above that. And I have 3 of them, so my total charge is going to be -3. which means my total charge for my metal has to be equal but opposite. So it's going to be a positive 3. And I'm divided by the number of titaniums we have, which there's no number there, so that means it's 1. So 3 divided by 1 is going to be a plus 3. Highlight that again to let me know that that is my Roman numeral. So I'm going to put in titanium, and then we're going to put 3, and then Br was, if you remember what Br was, Br is bromine, but the rule says we change the ending to "ide," and we end up with bromide. Okay. Okay, let's go ahead and look at number 7 here. Number 7, I have lead. Lead is way over here. And if I looked at page 12, it's right in here. So that means it is type 2. So we're back at, so we know that it's a type 2. And I have more than 2 capital letters, so it must be polyatomic. So I don't know what the charge of lead is, but I do know what SO4 is. So if I go to SO4 in my polyatomic ion sheet, which is going to be in the 3rd column, and I'm just going to go up right there a little bit. There it is, SO4 sulfate. It's a -2. So I'm going to go back over here and I'm going to put a -2. Now I know that I have more than 1 sulfate because I have parentheses. So I'm going to do -2 times 2 for a total charge of sulfate is going to be at -4. That means my total charge for my type 2 metal is going to be a +4. I'm divided by the number of leads that we have, which is 1, and so I'm going to be a +4. Again, I'm going to highlight that because it's type 2, and that is going to tell me my Roman numeral or charge for lead. So we're going to put in lead. Pb is lead, Lead. Let's double check and make sure that that's what it is. Pb, lead, there we go, we double checked it. Always should put our Roman numeral, and we're going to have 4. Remember, that's going to be IV. And then we do SO4. Remember SO4? That's right here. That is sulfate. So we're just going to write in sulfate. Hey, there's the name from the formula. Let's go ahead and go down and do the formula from the name. Let's take a couple of them. Let's go all the way down here to this one right here. I have lithium iodide. Well, one thing about lithium is right here on the periodic table, right here, column 1, which means that if we look at it here, it's in type 1. So go back here, we know that it's type 1. And iodide, I'm pretty sure that it's going to be a binary one. If we go to the periodic table and we look and we find iodine, right? If I look, just move this over a little bit. There we go, iodine. So that's where iodine came from. So it is binary. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and write the formula. We do have to write the charges above each one. Lithium, if I go back to the page 12, is a +1. And iodine is over here, and I can do that one at the same time, is a -1. So I know that this is a +1. This is a -1. They cancel each other out, so that means I need 1 of each. Even if I had a +2 and -2, +3, -3, they would equal each other. It means that we only have 1 of each one. So we're going to do the symbol for lithium, which is Li. I don't need any more, just need 1. And then iodine, which is I. Now, sometimes you see that they get confused. Is that an I or L? Well, we need to have 2 letters. But one of the things we can do, change it, is we can just change it right there. Boom, look at that. We changed that right there, and now we can tell that that's an I. Okay, let's go ahead and do the one right here below it, number 19. I have lead nitride. Well, we know that it's type 2 because of the Roman numeral. And it ends in ide. Nitride is nitrogen, so we know that that is also binary. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and put our charges above each one. So lead is a +2, and then nitride. Let's go to this here and do nitrogen is a -3. So we'll go back here and put a -3. They don't cancel each other out, so what do we do? We crisscross. So I'm going to put a 3 right there, and I'm going to move this 2 over here. And so I need 3 leads, and I need 2 nitrogens. Okay, so lead was, if you remember what lead was right here, Pb. Okay, so I'm going to put Pb with a subscript of 3. And then I do nitride or nitrogen. And if I scroll up here, nitrogen is right there. Okay, so I got the spelling for that, or the symbol. I don't need the spelling, I need the symbol. N, but I need 2 of them, so we're going to do that. So there's our formula for lead 2 nitride. Hey, that's all that I have for this video. If you have questions, again, ask in class, ask somebody else that knows. But if you have questions, you have to ask. Don't just sit there and not do anything. You got to ask. Hey, as always, go Mohawks. Nelson out.